If you can empty your mind of all thoughts, your heart will embrace stillness and peace. Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu and Taoist philosophy focus on harmony with nature and the natural flow of all things, while Buddhist philosophy shares a similar perspective on letting go but goes deeper into the internal exploration of suffering and the path to liberation. Below is a comparison and expansion of the issues Lao Tzu addresses, through the lens of Buddhist philosophy. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu encourages the abandonment of ambition, fame, and material things because these lead people away from suffering. This is in line with Buddhist teachings on relinquishing desires. However, Buddhism goes further by not only advising the release of external desires but also advocating the abandonment of negative thoughts and emotions. In the Four Noble Truths, the second truth, Samadaya, explains that suffering arises from craving, which manifests as unfulfilled desires, resentment, or ignorance. When individuals let go of these emotions, they achieve a state of liberation. This process is not merely about giving up external things but is an inner journey. Buddhism teaches that true liberation is not about escaping material life but about being freed from mental afflictions. Letting go of desires does not mean renouncing everything you love, but rather not allowing them to control and bind you. Desire is the primary source of suffering, and it encompasses not only material possessions like money or power but also psychological states such as ambition, envy, and an obsession with perfection. In Taoism, letting go is practiced by living in harmony with nature, without resisting the flow of the universe. Buddhism expands on this idea by teaching that people must not only let go of material things but also release thoughts and attachments to the self, the ego. When individuals stop clinging to the notion of self or personal desires, they attain complete liberation, a state where no suffering exists. This is the state of nirvana, where one is no longer affected by the cycle of birth and death, and suffering ceases to exist. The concept of impermanence, anicca, in Buddhism is one of the core ideas that explains why humans feel insecure and suffer. Everything in life changes, from our bodies and relationships to our wealth and success. We cannot control these changes, and when we try to hold on to what is impermanent, we only increase our suffering. Taoism, as espoused by Lao Tzu, also emphasizes the constant change and natural flow of all things, but its focus is on accepting this flow and merging with it. This means not resisting and not trying to control things beyond our capability. In Buddhism, impermanence is not just a law of nature but also the essence of all phenomena. The Buddha taught that clinging to impermanent things is the root of all suffering. People often fall into the mental trap of thinking they can control and maintain everything, but in reality, everything, from wealth and careers to even our bodies, is subject to decay and destruction over time. Just as Lao Tzu advises people to let go of control, Buddhism teaches that we should not be attached to impermanent things. A clear example is when people are too attached to relationships or possessions, they easily fall into suffering when these things change or disappear. However, if they recognize the impermanent nature of all things, they will no longer feel fear or grief over loss. This helps them live more lightly, less affected by external changes. Impermanence in Buddhism is not just an objective rule but a deep spiritual lesson. It teaches that accepting impermanence not only helps us cope with loss and change in life but is also the key to inner freedom. When we understand that everything changes, we are no longer bound by worries about the future or regrets about the past. Instead, we learn to live fully in the present moment. Lao Tzu, in his Taoist philosophy, encourages people to seek inner tranquility, remaining undisturbed by external noise. This is similar to Buddhism, especially through the practice of meditation, a method that helps individuals find peace and gain a deep understanding of the true nature of all things around them. In Buddhism, meditation is the path to peace, helping people free themselves from negative emotions like anxiety, anger, and fear. Meditation is not only a tool for achieving peace of mind but also a way to develop wisdom and see the true nature of all things. Meditation helps people observe their inner world, recognize their cravings, aversions, and ignorance, and then cleanse themselves from these afflictions. The tranquility that Lao Tzu speaks of is the ability to face all things in life without having the heart disturbed. This is very close to the Buddhist concept of non-self, anatta, where a person no longer clings to the ego or personal desires. When the mind reaches the state of non-self, the individual is no longer swayed by life's difficulties and challenges. This is a kind of freedom, liberation from the control of emotions and the external environment. Buddhism emphasizes that true peace does not come from controlling the environment or external circumstances but from controlling the mind. When people learn to observe their minds, not getting carried away by negative thoughts and emotions, they achieve inner tranquility, even in the most challenging situations. Attaining peace of mind is a long journey of meditation and introspection, but it is also the only path that leads to enlightenment and liberation from all suffering. The concept of the middle way in Buddhism, particularly as taught by the Buddha in the Noble Eightfold Path, is one of the core principles that helps individuals find the right way to live. The middle way is the path between extremes, neither too self-indulgent nor too ascetic. This is very similar to Lao Tzu's teachings in Taoism, which encourage avoiding extremes, living simply, and not letting oneself get caught up in excessive ambition or negative passions. Buddhism teaches that a balanced life is the key to avoiding suffering. Living too indulgently in desires leads to suffering, but overly suppressing oneself with extreme asceticism also does not bring peace. The middle way is the path where a person does not focus too much on seeking happiness through external material things but also does not neglect their basic needs. It is a balance between taking care of the body and nurturing the soul. Similarly, in Taoism, Lao Tzu emphasizes living according to nature and avoiding ambitions that exceed limits. He advises that chasing fame, status, or money will only lead to imbalance, resulting in stress and suffering. Lao Tzu does not encourage complete renunciation of material life, but he teaches that we should be content, know what is enough, and not be overly immersed in accumulating wealth or seeking social recognition. The middle way is not only a practical way of living but also a method to achieve mental stability. When people do not cling too much to success or failure, do not worry too much about the future, or regret the past, they can easily find balance and tranquility in their minds. This balance helps them maintain peace in the face of life's changes, without being drawn into emotional or behavioral extremes. In Buddhism, living according to the middle way also helps people avoid falling into illusions about the self. When individuals recognize that everything in life has limits and nothing is perfect, they will no longer strive for perfection or try to control everything. This frees them from unnecessary stress and anxiety, allowing them to live a freer, less painful life. Both Taoism and Buddhism emphasize a deep connection between humans and the universe, but they approach this issue from different angles. In Taoism, the concept of the Tao is the principle governing the universe, the source of all existence. Lao Tzu encourages people to immerse themselves in the Tao, living according to the natural flow of all things without trying to resist or control it. When people follow the Tao, they will achieve peace and harmony with the universe. In Buddhism, a similar concept can be understood through the idea of emptiness, sunyata, meaning that nothing exists independently or permanently. All things and phenomena exist based on dependent origination and are subject to change. Buddhism teaches that we are only a small part of the vast universe and that everything is interconnected. When people realize this, they will let go of their ego, stop clinging to themselves or their personal desires, and thus achieve liberation from suffering. Buddhism also teaches that people must abandon the illusion of the self, as the self is merely a construct. When we realize that the self does not exist independently and that everything changes, we are no longer governed by desires, worries, or fears. This aligns closely with Taoist philosophy about harmonizing with the universe, not letting oneself get caught up in the conflicts or stresses of daily life. Both philosophies encourage living a simple life, free from the constraints of materialism and ambition, to achieve peace and inner freedom. Another key concept in Buddhism is karma and rebirth. Every action has consequences, and these actions determine one's future life. This encourages people to live ethically, compassionately, and focus on spiritual values rather than material ones. In Taoism, while there is no concept of rebirth, Lao Tzu also emphasizes living in harmony with nature and avoiding negative actions that harm oneself or others. The connection to the universe in both philosophies not only helps individuals achieve peace but also helps them recognize their true place in the universe. When people understand that they are just a small part of the greater flow of things, they will no longer feel overly stressed or pressured to control everything. Instead, they will learn to accept and live in harmony with the universe, thereby achieving real happiness and freedom. Both Lao Tzu and Buddhist philosophy teach the importance of letting go, releasing desires, ambitions, and external attachments to find inner peace. Lao Tzu emphasizes harmony with the natural flow of life, advising us to live simply, without fighting against the natural order of things. Similarly, Buddhism offers a more structured path through the Noble Eightfold Path, guiding individuals toward enlightenment and liberation from suffering. While Taoism focuses on aligning oneself with the universe and its natural rhythms, Buddhism takes it further by addressing the internal struggles within the mind, highlighting that true peace comes not from controlling external conditions, but from mastering one's own thoughts and emotions. In both philosophies, the key to happiness and freedom lies in simplicity, detachment, and acceptance of the impermanent nature of life. By learning to live without excessive attachment to materialism, fame, or even the ego, one can attain a state of profound peace and liberation from suffering, achieving a life of contentment and balance.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to see the next episodes.